Hey everybody, my name's Dakota. I'm the president and founder of Destiny Adoption Foundation. It's our first ever episode. We're excited to be with you, and today our guest is Holli Pool. She's the vice president of Destiny. So hey Holli.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me.
It's
I'm
been,
so excited.
yeah, I'm excited. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Good. Things have been crazy. I know we highlighted your quarantine experience a couple weeks ago. Can you briefly tell us how that went? How things are going with your family?
Well, it was exciting, as I'm sure everybody experienced with quarantine. Lots of family time, which was actually really good for us because my boys don't have a lot. I have three adopted boys. They don't have a lot of experience with a mom and a dad. And once we got them, they kind of went to school and just started in life in general. And this opportunity to kind of bond all together has been really actually valuable for us. I know that a lot of people have not been super thrilled with the whole experience, but we found some really
Right.
good positives.
That's awesome. So you're spending a lot of time with each other. What have you guys been able to do together as a family?
Well, I hope I don't say anything that I wasn't supposed to do, because that could be bad, right?
No, you're good.
um, we we've been camping and we've been my kids just play a lot outside and we've been playing a lot of games and watching a lot of movies and the endless school work and Zoom meetings and teacher things and homeschooling for the first time. There is a reason I'm not a homeschool mom. I learned that very quickly.
That's awesome. So because this is our first episode, I really wanted Holli to be our guest because she's really kind of the driving force for me starting Destiny Adoption. Um, long story short, we're talking together at a soccer game, and she just told me about her adoption experience and how things needed to change, what we could do to improve the system and people's experiences in adoption. And so I decided to just kick it forward. And my go-to people to help join a board and to start a nonprofit was Holli and her husband Darren. So we've been doing this for like a year and a half now. Finally kicking off a show / podcast. We're really excited about getting our name out there and sharing people's experiences. So I'm really grateful for Holli joining me. I wanted to have her introduce herself and her adoption story, and then we'll kind of talk about wherever this goes. So talk to us, Holli. Tell us about your family, helping people know about your experiences.
Okay. So I just tell you kind of how our story, how we became an adoptive family. It's a little bit different than most families, but the end result is hopefully the same as everybody who gets this opportunity. Um, we were able to have two children, one in 2003, one in 2005. And then I had I had a medical condition. I had a series of surgeries. It kind of rendered me infertile. We didn't know that at the time. It wasn't statistically supposed to happen, but it did. And we ended up doing in vitro to get our third child. So she's our $1 million baby. And from there, we had miscarriage, and we did in vitro again, and that didn't work out. And I kind of just let that dream die. But there was always this desire in my heart to have more children. But at this point, we had no idea how that could happen. And with all the heartache of infertility and failed in vitro and just that whole journey, I had kind of made a plan with Heavenly Father that if he wanted me to have more kids, he was going to have to tie them up with a bow and stick them up on my front porch, because I was not going to do any more heart machine experiences. Maybe that makes me a quitter, but I figured, hey, we have 3 kids. We're so lucky, but that flame inside of me just never died. And from there, it just kind of fell in our lap. We were at a spiritual women's retreat, and one of the speakers, Tim Ballard, I don't know, he's the founder of Operation Railroad, Underground Railroad, which is saving children from sex trafficking throughout the world. And his story is phenomenal, and the people he's saved is incredible. These children, just an amazing story. And I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to have something like that in my life, and I was confused as to what my next step was. And so I was kind of sitting there thinking, okay, what do I do now? What's next? Like, what am I supposed to do? And at the same time as I'm thinking this, my friend is sitting beside me, and she's gotten up during this talk, and she's pacing the back of the room thinking, okay, she knows something that I don't know, but she had just happened to have 3. They're not related through blood, but they're related through marriage. Does that make sense? Anyway, they had approached her, these family members, and asked her if she could take these 3 little boys. And she knew she couldn't take them, but she knew that they were supposed to be coming to Idaho. And she just had this strong feeling that they were meant to be in Idaho, but they weren't hers to have. And so from there, it just was a snowball effect. I called the biological grandma and I said, hey, we heard about your little boys, and we're in a position where we could take them if you will let us. And at the time, they had a private adoption agency who they were working with, and they had a mother with a small little girl that were considering taking the 3 little boys, but she hadn't got back to them for 3 weeks, and they'd been on vacation. And the mix of these 3 little boys and their little girl, I think it was just so overwhelming that it just wasn't meant to be for that family. But it quickly escalated for us, and we were able to. We got a lawyer in the state the sending state that they came from, and then there's some ICPC interstate laws that apply, and we got a lawyer here in Idaho, and it within 2 months, October 2017, by December 11th, 2017, excuse me, they were ours, and we brought them home. And so that's kind of how we built our adopted family. And that's how we're here, where we're here. And I am very passionate about children having homes and being loved and having a family and belonging somewhere. And so I love this idea of a foundation to help families out.
That's awesome. And you've been a great help for me and for Destiny as well as your community. There are several things in your life and in your story that I feel like really separate you from most stories, and things that I want to get your take on for potential parents, prospective adoptive parents, or even people struggling with infertility. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about infertility, and then maybe your experience since the adoption and what you've done to maintain and help strengthen your family. So let's start with in vitro. What was the experience like? How did you decide to do that? And would you recommend it?
All right. So we actually, before we went all the way, because in vitro is kind of your last ditch effort. Costs a lot of money. It is a lot of heartache when it doesn't work. So we started with Clomid, which is an infertility drug that a lot of people have success with. In our case, we had secondary infertility caused by the surgeries, too much scar tissue. And so we knew that we couldn't do the other routes. We had to go all the way or nothing. And I felt strongly that we had a little girl that was meant to be ours. And I knew that there was a reason that we felt an emptiness, a drive. When I keep hearing other people get pregnant, it's a normal and natural thing for women to feel that kind of gut wrenching sadness. You're happy for them. You're so happy that it works, but it's heartbreaking for you. And anybody who has experienced infertility, no matter where it's at, whether it's no children or a few children or one child or miscarriages, it's all that pain is real, and it's a loss. It's every time that it doesn't happen, the infertility doctor said it is like a death of a child, and a death of a dream. And so I feel like that innate desire to have children is so important, because it makes us have a drive to continue to want and to not let that dream go. If I had just been like, hey, I have kids, I'm good, then three little boys may have not have gotten home. They had already been here several times, and it didn't work out, and they were meant for us. And I believe that feeling inside is real. And so for in vitro, I say, if you feel that is your route, your way, there's obstacles. They're real in any big dream that we have. And there's heartache, and there's hardship, and there's pain, physical pain, lots of injections and all kinds of medications that you have to take. But it's worth it. And it wasn't easy. There was nothing easy about it. In fact, I had placenta previa, and so I bled pretty much throughout the pregnancy, and then I ended up having an emergency C-section. So it was not an easy way to go, but it was worth it. And to this day, she's like our prized possession. That sounds terrible, but everybody feels it. Like her older sister, treat her like that, just because she was just so sought after, and then she was just this dream we had, and we want it so badly. So that's kind of the answer to, like, if you feel like that is your path, with all my heart, I say you pursue that path, and things will work out. The finances the dollars don't add up for our situation. They don't. In fact, we were audited years later. We were audited for that year because our medical bills were so astronomical that they were like, we don't understand. Like, you made this much money and your medical bills were way more than that. How does that even add up? How did you even live? And I have no idea. The numbers don't seem to make any sense, but he provides a way. Our Father in heaven is good, and he provides a way. So it's kind of awesome.
That's
Did I
great.
make you bored?
No. So now I'm distracted. So when you said a lot of times that it wasn't easy, and I think that that's very applicable to almost every child's story, but especially with adoption. And you jumped into it head first, adopting three brothers. Tell us your experience with everything post-adoption, raising them, loving them. Did they adjust well to your family, and what do they like to do? Do they have a hard time? Help us understand what you're going through these days, years later.
Okay. This is the side of adoption that I think doesn't get addressed very often. But any adopted parents of children that are either older or come from unique situations, which all of these children do, have similar stories. It is not easy. It is very, very challenging. Um, they have a whole history that we have no idea what happened. And even if they didn't have anything negative in that history, they have a story where they were taken out of the place where they knew everybody, where they were they knew the surroundings, and they were uprooted. They were picked up and then they were dropped across the country, and nothing was familiar. And so the transition was very, very, very difficult. There were extreme behaviors, and I had never seen anything like it. And so in our case, we had taken no classes. It wasn't like foster care or private adoption. I believe that for those, you take trauma training, you take mandatory classes so that you can be prepared for these children, especially in foster care. I know that that's true. But with our situation, we were going in completely blind. And I had no idea children could act the way that our children acted. And it pulled up all the old wounds from my own upbringing. It pulled up all my own insecurities, and it created mass chaos inside of myself. And I didn't know how to handle it. And we tried everything. We tried every single parenting route that I think exists to man. And the thing that we've remained constant on is we've just been consistent. We've had to be very, 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 very clear with our boundaries, and we've always followed through. So there is actions and there's consequences, and we have had to make sure that we always are telling them the truth, because there's security in that, and our boys have learned that they're safe. And I remember earlier on saying something to, at the time he was our 3-year-old, and I remember the 4-year-old stopping on the top of the stairs, and he goes, "Mom, you're not mean, you just are trying to keep us safe, right?" And I was like, that is the basic need of human nature. You know, these kids, they just want to be safe. They want to know that they want clear boundaries. They want rules. They want to be safe. And it took us a long time. They were young. We got them when they were 4, 3, and 1. But they had a whole bunch of baggage that they brought with them. And they aren't emotionally old enough to be able to articulate to us in words what was wrong, how they were feeling, why they were reacting the way they reacted. Things didn't make any sense to us. It made sense to them. They were heartbroken. They were confused. They were so challenging. But the big thing I guess I wish people understood is to get the training, get help, get counseling, solve your own personal history, background, before you try and help these kids, because they need help and they need to make new pathways in their brains. Their pathways are kind of mixed up. And because it's been reinforced a certain way, that there's neurons fire, and then they create these pathways that seem chaotic to us, but make sense to them because it's all they know. And so in our logical brain, we think, what is going on? At least that's how we were. We thought, holy cow, what is happening? Why are you acting like that? I have 3 biological children. I've never seen children act like this. And it's not necessarily on them. It's just where they've been and what they've been through, and they can't tell us. And in a lot of ways, they don't remember. They don't even know. They can't tell us those emotions. But the key is to figure out how to be healthy mentally and emotionally yourself, because as you well know, Dakota, it ruins my body, and it caused a lot of problems for me, because emotionally we kind of harbor those things in our bodies and they manifest themselves somewhere, right? So there was a lot of screaming and yelling and wailing and gnashing of teeth, mostly from the kids and sometimes from us, but across the board, it was just kind of mass mayhem. And because of that, I don't know if you want me to share, but I ended up with a diagnosis of a
Please
rare.
do.
Okay. I ended up with a diagnosis of a rare stage 4 cancer just, what are we sitting at? 8 months ago. I was given a 3 to 6 months to live. I was diagnosed in August 2019. And I believe that all that stress and all that chaos in my own home, something I never wanted, is what created this growth of cancer cells in my body. And it just kind of overtook my whole body. And so that's kind of what adoption has been for us. It's been very challenging. We have come a million miles from where we started. So I feel there's so much hope in that. And so I guess the other message I want to share is don't give up. Don't give up on them. They need love. And there's moments where I get the best hugs. I get the biggest squeezes around my waist out of the blue, that they just say, I love you. And sometimes my 5-year-old will say, I love you, pretty mommy, out of nowhere. And
Oh.
I'm just like, oh my gosh, like they don't hate me. It's so good. I feel so firm, and I didn't have to be that way. There's a whole different set of rules for my biological kids as compared to my adopted kids, but they're all loved. I love them all, but they all have to be dealt with differently. So that's kind of.
Yeah. No, thanks for sharing. I was partially hesitating on bringing it up or seeing if you would bring it up about your diagnosis, but things crazy around the Pool household. 2 years since you got the boys. How long has it been?
2.5. 2.5.
2.5.
Yeah.
Awesome. Time flies, and
Yeah.
I've seen those really tight hugs. Your boys love you to death, and I cherish my relationship with your family. As an adopted kid, like I know exactly how they may feel towards you guys, and in the good times and in the bad. I felt both ways. I felt abandoned, and I felt like I was the greatest. I had the greatest family in the world. Um, Something that I think is very unique to Destiny Adoption is each member of our board of directors has some different relationship to adoption. Just for all you guys listening, so I am adopted. Darren and Holly have adopted, and Robin, our director of communications, is a birth mother. So we really have nearly every perspective on our board. We try to do all we can for anybody who's looking into adoption on both sides, as a biological family member and as a prospective parent and family member. Um, like Holly said, we want what's best for the children, for everything that they create and establish entirety in their home. Like they're the children that you adopt are something that you always thought and like knew that you had or were missing in your family. I love Holly's story because she always felt a longing for more kids, and God really did drop them off on her porch with a bow. Like it happened exactly how she was expecting. Maybe not expecting, but it happened the way that she told God that it needed to happen if she were to get more kids. So I really appreciated your time, Holly. And just to close really quick, kind of recap your experience. I want you to share just maybe the main trials, any advice that you'd like to give potential parents, and once again share your like a short testimonial of adoption and your advice with that as well. And then we can close.
Okay. I just want to encourage anybody who is wishing or hoping or dreaming of a child or children, that this is a beautiful way to save a child's life. And for adopted moms, there are so many people who would give anything to have children. And for those who are looking to adopt, don't give up. Don't give up on your dreams. These children, they need homes. They need you. And they need somebody who will love them and take them into their lives and make them their own. And it is not easy, as I've just shared with you, but it is so worth it. It's worth it to see them get that light in their eyes and to go from confused, scared little animals to these, like, it's terrible. They're not animals, but they're a little crazy sometimes. And so I just want to say that, like, there's so much beauty in fulfilling that dream, but also there's so much need for children to have homes. And I just encourage you to get the help you need for yourself to be emotionally healthy, and to get training so you understand exactly what you're getting into, and so that you can give each child the best chance they can have. And just don't give up, because if you feel that longing, there's a reason for you to have that feeling. And sometimes that miracle comes in this life. Hopefully it will. But sometimes it's the next life, and it's because there is a plan for each of us. And Heavenly Father loves every single one of his children, and he will make it happen in your journey. If you feel that desire, that need, then I say act on it, because there's nothing like it. There's no harder, more beautiful thing that you can do than to love a child. Dakota is an example of that. He has amazing parents. He is an amazing human being, and his siblings are too. They are so awesome, and they've been given this chance to have this beautiful family. So thank you, Dakota. Like, you're amazing. I love that you're so young and so driven, and you desire to change the world one child at a time. And that is going to change the world, because all it takes is one child.
Thank you so much for that. Brought me to tears, but I honestly am so grateful for all that you have done for Destiny and for your kids, for your community. Holli was truly a light to our hometown when she was going through her cancer struggles. Everybody was aware of her situation. Everybody was reaching out to help, and it really opened pretty much the whole community and statewide people's eyes to the kindness and love that people still have, that humanity can gather as devastation hits. I'm grateful for all of you guys tuning in. Look forward to having you all see what Destiny's up to in the future as the Pools and I get hard to work, and we will catch you next week. See you guys.